An Alabama lawmaker is fighting back with her own bill after the state passed an abortion ban that is currently being challenged, as we have this thing called Roe v. Wade. I know Republicans love to go into these conservative states and do these abortion bans, which immediately get basically struck down for being unconstitutional. Well, they keep doing this in order to have it go to the Supreme Court so that they could have a chance at getting their conservative majority to strike down Roe v. Wade. So that's part of what they're doing, right? So now this state representative Rolanda Hollis, she decided, you know what? I'm going to fight against that. I'm going to actually release my own bill called HB 238, which would require a man to have a vasectomy within 1 month of his 50th birthday or the birth of his third biological child, whichever comes first. Now, that bill has sent Senator Ted Cruz, an anti-abortion activist, into a hypocritical fury. So, let me go to a quote here from AL.com, in which the Birmingham lawmaker told the publication last week that the legislation is in response to last year's Alabama abortion ban that makes abortion legal in almost all cases, including rape and incest. So, look, this is basically oh yeah, well, how would you like it if we start policing men's bodies? If we start controlling your reproductive rights? Ain't so fun, is it? And I have to say, I don't support it, but I also don't support limiting women's reproductive rights either. So I'm fairly consistent on that. But Ted Cruz doesn't quite understand, right? He completely misses the point and lacks all self-awareness when he says this on Twitter. Yikes, a government big enough to give you everything is big enough to take everything, literally. Can I just mention that this is what Ted Cruz is trying to do to women? Take away their reproductive rights and freedom, take away their choices using the power of government. Again, complete lack of self-awareness. Again, not in favor of the record. Not in favor of the bill. Again, I'm not in favor of banning abortion. I think that's ridiculous. I'm not in favor of abortion, by the way. Nobody is. And the goal should be really to make America a better place to have a family, instead of where we are right now, where we punish people for having children. And let's be honest, we do. We have a society in which basically a lot of the population, most of the population, can't survive or can barely survive with both parents working full time, where we don't have affordable health care or child care or a good education system. We don't have any of that. You could cut down on the numbers of abortions, which is a good thing, if you actually make America a place where families are actually encouraged. You can also cut down on the numbers of abortion by making birth control accessible, if not free. I know, crazy thought, right? And really, in states where they do make contraception free and freely available, well, guess what? It has cut down in the numbers of unwanted teen pregnancies. So that would be the obvious choice. But conservatives say, no, we don't actually want to end abortions. What we want to do is we want to control women. And so we're going to pass these bans, which don't lead to the end of abortions. It leads to the end of safe, legal abortion and to the rise of back alley abortions, which are more than likely to kill the mother as well. So, I mean, Alabama, you might want to look at making economic situations better for the people that actually live in your state and birth control freely available instead of trying to ban abortions or do more bans that don't seem to work. I mean, again, I thought Republicans, when they always talk about gun control, you can't ban that. Bans don't work. They're going to do it anyway. They're going to find a way. So bans don't work. Oh, but for abortion, ban it. It only works, see, on everything except for abortion. Got it. Okay. Anyway. So this got a lot of responses. Now, Ida Skibney says, yikes, it's almost just like you're uncomfortable with somebody telling you what to do with your body and deciding when and how to have a kid. Weird. I know, right? Allison Floyd says it's almost as if legislating people's bodies is wrong. Indeed. Melissa Ryan says, yes, governments have no business controlling the reproductive systems of citizens. Glad you finally come around on choice, Senator. Also, congrats on an epic cell phone. Look, that's all that the pro-choice movement is actually saying. Is, hey, man, it's not the government's job to make that choice. It's your choice. As a free, independent human being, you have a chance, or you have the ability to make the choice about your own body up to the certain point of viability, essentially, right? And so what conservatives are doing is that, again, they're using the power of big government, which they say, how dare you use the power of big government to infringe upon my freedoms? Well, they sure love to infringe upon people's bedrooms and their sexuality. So anyway, Brooke Brinkowski says, wow, how awful that the government is trying to interfere with bodily autonomy. What's that feel like? Something that Ted Cruz would never know. Irishry Girl says, oh, you don't like big government trying to regulate your body? I love the snark in these. So much snark. And mostly all women responses, which is also great. Fred Wellman says, it's outrageous to have your government involved in these personal reproductive decisions. So glad you're pro-choice, Ted. And Pay Resist says, a bill involving a medical procedure which only applies to one gender? Governmental overreach. Now, one more thing. This is in the piece of legislation, which I thought was pretty fun, right? Under existing law, there are no restrictions on the reproductive rights of men, which is true. How's this bill says, if it becomes law, a man must pay for the procedure at his own expense, which again mirrors that currently of abortion. Because remember, thanks to the Hyde Amendment, no federal money can be used for abortion services. It all has to come out of course, your own pocket. And so in this case, it's like, oh, well, look, you got to get this mandated vasectomy, and we're not going to pay for it. Sad day for you. She also added, it always takes two to tango. We can't put all the responsibility on women. Men need to be responsible also. And she's right. Look, I know this is a parody bill. It's meant to point at the absurdity of regulating only one sex and not the other, but it's an important point. She's right. And there's a lot of situations, and I'm not saying all, but there's a lot of situations where, all the focus is placed on, and all the blame is focused on the female. And that is a cultural thing that I think needs to change. And I'm not saying that's true in all circumstances, certainly not. And I'd hate to, be accused of using a broad brush or painting this with a broad brush, but it is an issue, and it is important to point out that you're right. It does take two, which means both are responsible. And so it shouldn't be the focus to blame one gender over the other. But unfortunately, that's what we're seeing, right? What we see is a focus on basically punishing women for trying to be sexual in nature. And that's just absolutely wrong. And there is this insane desire in many in the right wing, the conservative side, to control what women do with their bodies and to not allow them bodily autonomy. And they use, of course, the lie about, oh, no, we care about babies as a way to justify it. Well, if you care about babies, childcare, healthcare, for children, welfare programs, food stamps, etc., and the WIC program and all the stuff that you attempt to cut, that would go a long way into proving how pro-life these people actually are. But they're not pro-life because all those programs, or most of them, they seem to have an issue with. So I say, as a general rule, when somebody shows you who they really are, in the case of a lot of these pro-life activists, and I'm not saying all of them, but when they show you who they are, maybe you should listen. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization, and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.